believe Artea has been kind of hot with the offline races the last couple days, and he is sticking true to his form with going with a bunch of hats.
And we are off. Looks like we have Lit 2 at level 1 for Black Magic.
This is a lot of hats.
And Heal 3 for White Magic at level 1, so very nice magic start to begin the seed. And we see only a very slight difference between the teams in that Brott is running a dual fighter composition, and we have a double red mage from Artea.
Yep, and it looks like both of them are going to take an encounter early, try to get that level 2.
Yep, usually you see going to either level 2 or 3 for the additional spell charges. The spell charges will definitely benefit Artea a little bit more, since access to 2 red mages means 6 Lit 2s heading into Garland's Temple.
Hats are good, man. Hats are good.
I agree. Artea has been slowly converting me to the Hat Brigade.
So as we're getting through this starting point of the race, and as our runners are going through Cornelia, can you two cover what the difference between Final Fantasy Randomizer is versus vanilla Final Fantasy for our maybe newer to the group in the chat?
Alright, so first off, all the treasures are randomized throughout the game. This means that in order to finish the game, the players are going to first need to find the TNT so that they can blow open the canal, and then they will need to find the floater in order to have access to the northern area of the game, the crown to get the key that they need it for only one door in the Temple of Fiends Revisit, but there is potential that a key item may be locked behind other doors throughout the game. And you also need the slab to gain entrance to the Mirage Tower. Additionally, the bottle will possibly be in its vanilla location, but will be randomized into an item shop somewhere in the game. Beyond that, enemies, scripts, and abilities are not randomized with the exception of status attacks. So the normal sorcerer death touch that you see on only the sorcerers throughout the game will be randomized to one enemy somewhere in the game.
So what you're telling me is that imps are not going to have nuke?
Correct. On round 1 flags, you will not see imps with nuke. The only thing that is shuffled is the status attacks, nothing else. Additionally, prices are randomized between 50% and 200%. So you can sometimes see bargain bin deals at a shop, or sometimes you will see items just cost 65,535 gold. And enemy stats are randomized in a spread of 83% to 120%. So in this seed, we will not be seeing a Nightmare Tiamat 2 like we did on the last showcase race that we saw. And then EXP is boosted by 5 times with an additional 500 per enemy. And the same is true for gold.
Why do you have to make me relive my nightmare, dude?
Hey, I'm just letting everybody know that we're not going to see another nightmare.
The other thing about the round 1 flags is that the RNG isn't shuffled, so the players that know the manipulations can abuse that if they want to, but it's not a huge advantage. You have to check all the chests early in the game, so it really doesn't come into play until later. Mirage Tower, Sky Fortress.
And we see Brottster, despite getting body blocked by people in the town twice, actually held a 2-second lead upon getting the loot from Princess Sarah.
And what I'm going to be interested here is if they're going to go north to the cave to see the blind woman looking for the crystal, or looks like they're going to be taking a right, going down to get the ship first and heading back up there afterwards.
That definitely seems like what Artea is going for. Brottster taking one last shopping trip in Cornelia, picking up whatever he can before they leave.
400 gold at this stage of the game is a lot to invest on a gamble. I like to go up to the north if the tents or the cabins are 100-ish gold. Otherwise, it's much better to go get the boat first.
That is very fair. Crazy Jesse, so how do they seed the game? So the bot in the IRC chat will generate a random seed with the appropriate round flag, so in this case, round 1. And then both players will run the exact same seed.
So let's see if this pays off for Brott going north to Matoya.
And we see Lit 3 in Pravoka.
There,
Crown in Matoya. So, Brottster with a very slight advantage right now. We do expect to see Artea check Matoya since they have not found the TNT yet.
So if you guys were running this race, what does that say to you? Where would you go next?
It depends on if I find the TNT. If I find the TNT in Dwarf Cave, I'm still inclined to skip Marsh. However, I might run the crown to Astos, finish the key quest chain, and then check the chests in the additional 8 in Dwarf, 3 in Temple, and then 10 between the 2 castles.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting all the locked chests. Probably not going to Temple of Fiends, but definitely going to my Dwarf Cave, Cornelia, and getting the 4 in Elfland.
Oh no, definitely. I would be getting the key first and then just going from there.
And Gymtopia in chat, what is an average run of this category?
Depends the flag.
Yeah, for round 1 flags, depending on the speed of the seed, we can see times all the way down towards about an hour and a half. I would say for round 1 flags, expect somewhere between an hour 45 and 2:15 is a pretty fair time to guesstimate at. Later flags can start running towards the 3-hour mark as the later game bosses can just be a little bit nightmarish sometimes.
And it looks like they got life 2 in the white magic, so that's going to help them out a bit.
Alright, and we see Artea now with the boat in tow going up to check and get his crown from the Blind Witch. So I expect that we can get a better analysis on who might be ahead in the early game once we get down to Elfland, as we see that both of the racers took slightly different routes to begin with and are kind of syncing back up now.
I'm inclined to say Artea's a little bit ahead just because the encounter rate on the sea is much less than on land, so he's going to hit fewer battles in travel time than Brottster was going to walking up and then walking all the way to Pravoka.
Looks like Brottster did a little bit of armoring up, which kind of pays off if you have to go into the Marsh Cave, because it allows them to have a little bit higher of defense.
What, you mean to tell me you've never done Volcano with iron armor? And that's
I've done Volcano with no armor, and that's caused about a 45-minute loss a couple times. I've taken some odd strats.
Alright, so we see both players tenting on the ocean roughly around Cornelia as they head up to check the... Oh! Actually, Artea is heading down to Elfland, and we have Brottster heading up to the Dwarf Cave.
So what are some key items you guys are looking for, other than the obvious floater and TNT, that you guys like to pick up early for these party choices?
It depends. If it's off the bat and you're not having any type of offensive multicast spells, I'm hoping for like the Zeus or Thor, or something that's going to allow the mage staff that's going to allow me to cast multiple targets. If I have that, then I'm looking for a high-powered weapon that I can just put on my fighter and go.
As far as in shops, you usually look for the Silver Sword, though I don't know that either of these teams are going to be able to afford it into their route currently, because Magic does tend to take priority on your finances before offensive or defensive equipment. But getting over towards Crescent Lake, I would not hate maybe finding the silver bracelet to throw up on at least all of my mages and maybe even my fighters, so that I have a little bit of defense going into the volcano.
I hate to interrupt, but we just saw 3 very important spells right there. Cure 4, Exit, and Warp. Fast in Elfland. So the runners are definitely going to be marking this down, as those are 3 of the most important spells that you're going to want to get. Exit's obviously going to get you out of the cave as fast as possible. Cure 4 is going to take you from 1 all the way up to full health, and Fast is going to allow for your fighter to hit like a truck.
We also, as Almacia pointed out, we also saw Invis 2, which is a party-wide 40 evade buff, and that is not also to be underestimated this early on in the game, as it does help against some bosses later on, in case they do not find the white shirt.
So here we got our Artea going into Astos. Joey, can you hit us a little bit on what this Astos fight looks like?
Dodge, rub, and win.
So simply put.
The first spell in his rotation is rub. If you lose a party member here, it's not a huge issue, as you see Artie gets rubbed. Then he slows down a little bit, but if the fight lasts long, he's got Lit 2 and Fire 2 back to back, and it could get ugly. But both players quickly demise him.
So, chat, tell us a little bit of what you're thinking, where you want the TNT to be hidden. So now we have it very much opened up when they're getting the Mystic Key. It can be dug deep in Marsh. It could be right there in Elfland. Come on, hit us with some of your guesses.
It could be right there in Astos' castle.
Yeah, so with the key this early, we have 37 possible locations, of which the highest numerical probability would be the Marsh Cave that nobody likes, and then the second most likely is that it is actually locked in the Dwarf Cave behind the Mystic Key, and we will have yet another episode of Massively Lazy Dwarves.
TGE, that's just mean. Putting it right behind the Wizards and Marsh Cave.
That happened to us yesterday.
I clearly remember that.
And they had stun lock.
And we see right here Brottster looking also get Fire 3 as well.
He's had early harm, correct? Harm 4 was in the first shop.
I believe so. I'm not sure if either player picked it up, though. As I believe it was competing with Heal 3, if I'm not mistaken. So, not sure when you have Heal 3 early, when it's restoring round about half of your party's HP sometimes, you may not want to fire off a Harm 4 and lose that charge.
Imps with poison, the dream.
That's more of a nightmare.
I mean, I'll take Imp Poison over Imp Death Touch any day. And we have Artea with a decent bit of a lead as both players are heading in to get the Mystic Key currently.
And a high five.
Yep, high five on the way out from Matoya's cave.
Ooh, Brottster goes into exit and realizes he's not level 8 yet.
So here, if you're Artea, are you leaving poison on your 2 party members just to save time since nothing really threatens you this early? Or are you going into the menu and curing it?
I would menu and cure just for the pure fact of a loss at this point. Well, it might not seem much, but you have, the key, you have the ship. It could add up pretty fast.
I don't believe you take poison damage on the boat or the canoe. But I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that.
If that is the case, then I certainly would not cure it. But yeah, Almasi with a nice point in chat, I would cure it to avoid the wonderful sound effect that comes with walking with poison.
That sound, y'all don't even know about that sound.
It's right up there with the most annoying sound in the world.
Miyat gave me a new appreciation for the poison sound when he was running Final Fantasy II. So we see Brottster turning in the herb, waking up the nice prince who just decides he wants to continue to sleep.
We have Artea picking up some last-minute level 4 black magic. As we did note, Fast was there. Additionally, Fire 3 was there. We also see Wall in the white magic shop for level 4. Curious to see. I know Artea tends to favor picking that up, as lack of ribbons could be a problem.
Starting to get a little bit of opal armor from there. Let's see where this TNT is hidden. They're going right up to Cornelia. Taking the long way home.
Yep, the left route is about 3 steps slower than the right.
So far,
Just
no
armor,
luck.
not more.
Alright.
Iron
Lazy
Armor's-
Dwarf is still alive.
Iron Armor's not a bad pickup for the early game for your fighters.
You definitely would enjoy to see armor, iron armor. It wouldn't hurt actually if I had to choose one. I would choose the silver. It has a slightly higher defense and it gets rid of your evade a little bit less.
So, chat, we are down to 8 chests in the Dwarf Cave, 13 in the Marsh Cave, 3 in the Temple of Fiends, and 3 in Astos' castle. Where do you guys think it's going to be? As we see Artea taking a gamble and going to check Astos, whereas Brottster is checking the dwarf. And Artea finds the TNT in Astos' castle! That is going to be a big lead, with Brottster having to sail all the way back across the ocean to find it.
And if Brottster goes Marsh first...
I don't think you can consciously go Marsh first when there's non-Marsh options available. We do see the Ice Sword on Brottster's screen along with the Dragon Armor. So, while the TNT is not here, there is very valuable equipment for his fighters.
And the nice thing is Artea is going to go there right after this, because he's going to make a beeline to turn in the TNT.
Yes, and
After it
with
goes to
that
Cornelia.
so close to the TNT dwarf, there's no reason to not check it.
And at this point, if he can avoid Marsh Cave, I think he's going to find that as a success.
And for the newer players in chat who do not know, Ice Sword is roughly the second best pre-promotion weapon that you can get for your fighter. Pretty much only beaten by the Sun Sword. Obviously, I'm going to exclude Masamune because anybody in the game can use that, and it's definitively the best weapon in the game. But Masamune aside, Sun and Ice are what you're looking for early game for your fighter.
So about 20 minutes in, why don't we recap for the chat? As you can see, the items down at the bottom on the left-hand side, you can see all of them get the loot, which is great because there have been 1 or 2 speedruns that have been destroyed by not getting the loot. They did find on the left-hand side, you're going to see Artea with the TNT. His gamble to go to Astos' castle did pay off. Both of them do have the Mystic Key, which allows them to open up additional doors. At this point, what do you guys think is going to be next after this? Do you think one's going to go to Volcano, or they're going to go to Ice?
I actually think both are probably going to just go straight for Volcano, because there's really no reason not to. They have good spells. The initial part of the game has actually been a little bit longer thanks to the nice trolley location of the TNT here, so they have a few more levels under their belts than they would normally have for this stage of the game. We see Artea hitting level 10 right now. That's a very reasonable level to head into the Volcano area, and we see Brottster heading into the Astos castle to get his TNT as well.
Ooh, not aware the trap tile is going to take an image fight. And we see Artea going with another little gamble here, checking the 3 chests in Temple of Fiends. What do you guys feel about this?
You know, it's a worthwhile gamble because if something big does come up, as you're going to see there was a guess of Floater would be in here from the chat. If something big does come out of here, which it's kind of just a little bit more cold, which does pay off. But you see a hard reset out of him.
He's like, no.
I think it's worth, because it doesn't take too long to check, and as Artea did, you can set a tent spot closer to Cornelia and actually just basically reset back to your boat. The encounters inside of TOF are not really going to be threatening, so I think it's worth checking just in case there is something major there.
Now we'll see if Brottster is going to go up to TOF or if he's going to go straight to the worst town in the game, Melmon, and check out his options there at the level 5 shops.
Why do you feel that Melman's the worst town in the game?
Well, as a speedrunner, it's not so much the worst town in the randomizer, but in vanilla, there's no item shop and there's no clinic. So if you die in Earth Cave, it's a gigantic time loss.
I can definitely agree with that. I had a seed where I had not bought softs, and I got petrified in Volcano and had to sail all the way back to Cornelia to buy softs. That was not too pleasant.
So at this point in the race, knowing what we know about early spells, and so far weapons and armor, who do you think has the advantage late game? Or as we progress?
Well, Artea only has 1 fighter to equip, so we haven't found an abundance of fighter gear yet, so presently Artea would have a slight advantage because he's not trying to equip 2 primary physical attackers, more so just 1 and maybe one of his red mages is a secondary physical.
But Brottster already has Opal Armor and Dragon Mail, so that's going to be a huge plus for him going into the later game, if he can find the tail. Otherwise, he's just baby raging secretly because he's wasting all these inventory slots. At what point for you guys, as runners of the randomizer, do you start to drop those key late game items that you need the tail to equip?
When I have no other options. That's why I typically will carry a black belt, because think if he has 4 spots, that can just be a holding spot. Looks like he's looks like he's blocked for getting temper on Brottster. The racers are blocked from getting temper, which will increase their damage that's dealt.
To answer your question, Joey, I'll start dropping stuff for good spell items or ribbons. That's pretty much about it. We did see Protect Rings in Melman there, so we may see a revisit to Melman later to buy Protect Rings, as they are one of the more efficient defensive options, as they go into your accessory slot and provide 8 defense along with somewhat death protection. Protection, for everybody in chat who does not know the mechanics of Final Fantasy 1, protection is not immunity, as it could very well be confused as. Even if you have protection from, in this case, death for the Protect Ring, there is still, Joey, what is it, a 3 out of 256 chance that
somewhere around there, yeah,
that the ailment will still hit you through your protection. This is even true with the ribbon that gives you protection from pretty much everything.
And for those who are familiar right now, you're seeing Artea and Brottster. They're heading over to where you typically would get the canoe after you defeat the Earth Fiend. That is because in the randomizer, you're allowed to select early canoe, which bypasses the game from checking if that orb is lit up and allows you to get the canoe immediately. From that, you can go to Volcano, you can go to Ice, you can go up to Waterfall, you can go to not Waterfall, you can go to Ordeals if you're, inclined to do that one. But it just opens up a couple more opportunities for you to go to areas that have maybe a little bit higher level of enemies, but more chests to check out. And we find the bottle.
So we have a very, very close race right now. Like, this is grossly close.
And we see Nuke at level 6 in the 3rd spot, along with Warp also at level 6.
Well, I thought it said Fade. My apologies. I looked for End Warp, yep.
So, interestingly enough, no red mages are going to have access to Nuke this seed, as it did not fall in the correct spot.
And we got Brottster making a beeline over for the Volcano. And, Joe, why don't you take a go into Volcano first before Ice Cave?
This is the next big gamble that you can take. Logically, for the round 1 seed, it's better to go to the Volcano, because the Eye has, what is it, XXXXX, which will kill a party member. He has Break, which will stone a party member. So the Eye grind in round 1 seeds is a little riskier, but the Volcano has a ton of just disgusting encounters that can wipe your party. So it's like a double-edged sword. Which one do you prefer, personally?
Sirius in chat asking that would the lack of Nuke put Artea at a disadvantage, since he has 2 red mages that will not be able to learn it. To some degree, I'm going to agree with that statement, Sirius. Not just because his red mages cannot learn Nuke, but we also did not find Fade, so they are lacking the end-game quality area of effect spells that Artea likes to kind of rely upon with his triple mage composition. He's going to have to just settle for Fire 3. I don't know whether we saw Lit 3 or Ice 3 either.
Just picked up an important pro ring on Brottster's side.
And you see them both taking different paths through this first floor. Brottster going in the second door and starting kind of towards the unpopulated area, while Artea just goes for the meat and potatoes.
So, Joey, which of those options do you favor yourself?
Neither. I actually, if I have exit or warp, I like to go grind Agama first.
See, I'll typically do the Artea. I'll go north, use exit or warp out of there, heal up with a house. I'll typically try to come in here with an extra house and go from there. Picking up the flame shield, which will also be a nice upgrade, and has to drop some armor to get the silver bracelet on Brottster's side.
Magius, what weapons have been found? I believe the best weapon we found is Ice Sword right now.
Yep, so far.
That it is, and also to catch up the people who are joining us and caught us a little bit this far into it. So far, each Artea and Brottster have managed to get the loot, the TNT. The crown was hidden in, not so much hidden, but it was in Matoya's cave. They both have not ventured into Marsh. We do have Artea, who knows what's in the Castle of Fiends, and they've both gone into, I believe, Astos' castle as well.
And huge find on Brottster's screen as we get the volcano in the paired chest that Artea is heading towards right now.
He got the volcano in the chest?
The floater in the volcano chest.
Okay.
My
Looks like
apologies.
The floater has migrated from the Earth Cave for about 6 races in a row to now I think this is going to make the 3rd or 4th race in a row that it's been hiding in the volcano.
And both players are taking some of these terrible encounters that I was talking about earlier. The Paralisks have Squint, which is instant death. And the Fires, every time I come in here, they have an absurd amount of health and an absurd strength draw. It's crazy. I don't like them.
Floaters floaters. Alright, I'm just getting backwards. Fire elementals and earth elementals are notorious for rolling ridiculously high stats, and they are, unfortunately, spike tile encounters for a decent amount of the early chests in both Earth Cave and Volcano here. So, they are usually one of the worst encounters to have to fight early game.
And we have Maya in chat hitting us with the knowledge, and yes, you are correct. The slab is really the last thing that these runners are looking for to get into go mode.
Artea taking a little hit here.
Matt, the cube is actually something you're going to get in just normal. It's not something that's going to be hidden. It's just very much out there in the open.
To elaborate on that from Matt there, who asked in chat about the cube. The cube is not randomized. The cube will always be at Bob the Friendly Robot, deep within the waterfall cave, where we go to visit Out of Bounds Bat, and we get the cube there. It's always there. It's also 6 free chests, so I like to do it early because you have to go there anyways, no matter what. And then the other item that's like semi-vanilla is the bottle, which is just going to be at an item shop. You're not going to find the bottle in a chest somewhere in a dungeon. That's right, Maya. I'm naming our friendly robot Bob.
Good old Out of Bounds Bat.
TGE, you ruined the surprise. No, I'm just kidding. But yes, Out of Bounds Bat is our favorite bat in the game. All other bats are not too nice. Out of Bounds Bat is our friend.
Splitting Mnut, we have seen Bottle. Bottle is in Crescent Lake.
The nice thing is about each one of these runners that there's incentive to go back to 3 of the first 4 towns. For Bottle, for better spells, for, armor. So let's see if they're going to end up doing that late game.
Artea just picked up one of the 2 unrunnables in the volcano, the Wiz Ogre Cerebrus encounter. But it looks like Artea opening a small lead now.
So as we're seeing the flashing lights on the screen and we're going through the volcano, why don't we give some information about the Final Fantasy I Randomizer community? It is, it's been growing more and more as of late after the recent tournament, match that we had on, not the tournament, it was a showcase match that took about 3 hours, where thank you, Joey, for taking part of that. If you have questions, if you want to join it, we do have a very active Discord. Please, there's going to be links to the tournament, the match schedule, as well as our Discord. Feel free to join. It doesn't matter if you've never picked up this game, if you played it as a child, if you played it years and years ago, any iteration of the game. Everyone's very welcoming there. We all want to help. Do feel free. Go on there. I've asked many of random questions myself. We also have newer runners. We actually have a runner who is learning the game right now along with us. So ask away. We're very warm, very welcoming. We always want to help and grow this community as much as possible.
I personally am getting a little happy that the only characters dying are the red mages so far.
And learning the game doesn't take, it's not a long time or a hard learn. It takes a minute to learn it, but you can progressively get better over years and years and years. Watching some of the elite streamers, watching some of these races, you'll pick up little tips and tricks that will, advance your skill set. And it's not about being the best at the game, I can tell you that one. It's about having fun, enjoying it. It's bringing back that childhood nostalgia. So we got Artea hitting the Aghanims right now. So we're going to see here if he's going to do his Aghanim grind. And the reason this is a great spot is because you have two encounter tiles that you know exactly what you're going to get every single time as you're fighting through. And it's not only, they have a decent amount of health. You're seeing about 12,000 health per Aghanim.
12,000 health? Jeez. That's
hit points. Sorry, experience points. I was looking at that wrong. 12,000 health is not what you're able to do. I meant experience.
Yeah, so Artea is grinding the Agamas here. Pretty much usually their most threatening attack that they have is indeed the heat that we just saw on Artea's screen. Occasionally they will roll somewhat high strength and actually be able to punch for around about 60-70 damage, which can be annoying. The runners do have decent curative magic for this stage of the game. And the most worst case scenario probably is if they have something like stun or petrify on their status attacks. That is actually the worst case scenario. And yeah, splitting them up. We are not playing Link to the Past. There are no Aghanims here, just Agamas.
I find it amusing that we all call the Agamas different names.
From New England, we pronounce everything incorrectly.
Amen. So what, in this seed, 120% max scaling for your endgame content, how high are you guys going level-wise on the grind?
That's a loaded question to me. I have been known once or twice to maybe bring a black belt to very over-leveled if I didn't have a too nice of a run.
All right,
I mean, Azrael, let's not count Joker in this question.
Alright, so for the grind here, as we are on very low power seeds, if you are running a black belt, you want to hit the level 21 breakpoint, which is when the black belt will get an additional attack, and that is effectively a damage multiplier. And that's going to be your main goal, is getting to 21. With fighters, you can grind a little bit less, actually. In this kind of a seed with alright magic, but no nuke or fade, I would probably head to 16, maybe 17, and then head out, because you're going to get levels via having to take unrunnable encounters during the rest of the game. And while we are seeing synchronized grinding here, let's take a time to plug Speed Gaming and Feasel for all the amazing work that he is doing, hosting this for us, getting this thrown together. and all of the work that he does for all of the speedrunning community. And then additionally, please, chat, do me a huge favor. Go follow the runners. They're doing an amazing job here, putting a fantastic race out for you guys to see. We're seeing some chat. Fiesel for President 2020. So one thing we might see here is if somebody, as we now have synchronized level 16s, and indeed we have Brottster peeling away from the grind at level 16, and actually I had missed in the shoutouts, Artea has already left the grind, hits level 16 on the way to carry, and is in his first Fiend fight as we speak.
Joey,
why
being
don't
nice to Artie.
Joey, why don't you go ahead and tell us, what are we worrying about here for the carry fight?
She has a absurd offense. Her physical strength is very good at this point in the game. She hits about 6 times for upwards of 200 to 300. She could probably one-shot the white mage. Spell rotation wise, fire 2, dark, fire 2, dark, fire 2, dark, fire 2, dark. That's the it. So he's praying that she doesn't crit one of these mages, because then he's in trouble.
And we did see Artea setting up the Invis 2 on one of the turns with the white mage to hopefully mitigate some of that oppressive physical damage that carry does indeed have.
And Brottster's going to have a tough time, it's looking like, going into the carry fight with 2 of his light warriors down.
No, you forgot we have life 2 at level 2 and life at level 3, so he will actually be completely fine. He just has to spend a little bit of time healing up before heading down to carry.
And we got Artea hitting the first orb at 42 minutes, and we'll say about 20 seconds.
So now we'll see Artea go to turn in the floater, and then we will see gamble time. Does he go Ice Cave? Does he go Earth Cave? Do you guys like to check the free chests that you have available right now, or are you just diving in for that second Fiend kill?
At this point, I would check all the free chests that's available, just because you never know what's there. You know, you could get the Mass Moon at one of those chests and then have the most powerful weapon in the game right there. You could also get the tail, which will allow for them to start using some of that late game armor. And then along with that, it allows them to, if the tail gets them the late game armor, but then also allows them to get that late game magic as well.
This poor white mage, no weapons. And it looks like he learned Invis 2 on the red mage and not the white mage as well.
The red mages are lacking some offensive power for the later game. It could have been very possible that there just was not a good option for the red mage at that spell level, so why not throw Invis 2 on them if they can learn it?
I am very sad that we cannot give the ogre his ruby right now. He's gonna go hungry for the rest of the night.
Yeah, we are going to see a starving titan here, as we are witnessing on Artea's screen. If you do not find the ruby, but you do find the floater, you are able to skip the ruby completely and just fly to the back end of that cave, check the 4 chests behind Titan as we just saw Artea do, and visit Sarda to receive the rod without actually acquiring the ruby. This is allowed because Sarda early rod is available in this earlier rounds of the randomizer, and that allows a little bit more flexibility in where you can go once you see that floater if you have not found the ruby quite yet.
You definitely do splitting. You definitely give him. You feed his addiction to rubies, 100%.
And by the way, we have a route divergence. I don't know about you guys, but typically I try to clear out the Earth Cave as one of the last caves because everything is just so spread out. And my favorite sword of the game, the Bane sword.
Are you a affiliate of the Bane Strat Tiamat or no validation of the run?
I try to Bane Strat Tiamat every single time. Unless I don't have the sword.
Indeed, as we said, there is a route divergence here. Well, we don't know that there is a route divergence yet. Going into Earth early when you can single clear it is completely feasible. It's not a bad decision. Some of the encounters are a little awful, but now that we've been to the volcano and we're coming here second, we have a bit more levels under our belt. Earth Cave is a lot less terrible than it usually is. It does have 24 chests, which is not bad. Yes, Greenleaf, feasible.
We have Brottster, by the way. Sorry to interrupt real quick. We have Brottster picking up the bottle. That's not to be set aside. And Artea with the slab, with the gamble of going into Earth Cave is going to pay off.
Yeah, so to build upon that, what I was about to say before we caught that is that it would not be a bad decision here to grab the bottle and head off to Sea Shrine, as Sea Shrine does technically have 32 chests along with one of the 4 required fiends that you have to kill, whereas Earth only has 24 chests if you're able to full clear it in one go, which we are thanks to the early floater. But we did see Artea's gamble pay off admirably, as Artea with the slab is now in go mode, and we will probably see Artea still check some chests, as a better weapon would not be bad, the tail would also not be bad, and I don't believe we've seen a ribbon yet, and you usually want at least one, but you'll take as many of the 3 ribbons as you can find as you progress through the game.
Definitely. And Joey, tell us a little bit more about Go Mode, if you don't mind, what that entails and where it looks like going from here.
So Go Mode is basically when you've picked up the key items necessary to complete all the 4 Fiend dungeons and then get into TOFR. So it's the floater, the crown, the slab, and the bottle. And then basically you are... For me, I'm looking at chests that are accessible on the way through, but I'm getting through those dungeons as fast as I can and getting to chaos.
And we have the Ruby sighting in the Cardia Islands, or as we like to call them, the Zardia Islands. And we do see a second ice sword for the fighters on Brottster's team.
That'll help him out as he goes along if he chooses. Once he gets into Go Mode, he'll have slightly better weapons below that top tier, but still at least something nice.
Ooh, gets the Aegis shield too.
Yeah, so if Brottster finds the tail, he has found very, very good quality equipment defensively for those 2 fighters. We have the opal armor that he also just found in the islands, the dragon armor, which is just upgraded opal armor with more resistances, and then we have an opal shield, an Aegis shield, and an opal gauntlet. So very, very good equipment defensively for Brottster if he finds that tail. If he does not find that tail, though...
And he validates the run by feeding the ruby.
Yes.
From behind. Surprise, Titan, here's your favorite snack.
He's definitely going to pick up that ice armor. Only has chain on his lead fighter.
and we see out of exit spells to quickly leave the Titan Cave, so he has to take a brief walk of shame and get attacked by some grape wolves on the way out. And as I mentioned, we are seeing Artea still check some chests because we are looking for ribbons, maybe the masa, just a few quality of life equipments that he is indeed still searching for, as we are in go mode, but lacking a little bit in the defensive department.
Now, are you typically going way out of your way to grab the single chests that like he is, or are you just picking up the single chests that are en route to your destination?
I typically won't stray from the path too much, but that being said, I'm not one to argue what they're doing.
Yeah, I can agree with that. There are still so many chests left in the game, with 52 between Mirage Tower and Sky Castle, 32 in the Sea Shrine, that both these are mandatory dungeons that we have to go to. And especially Mirage Tower features a very tight congregation of chests where you're going to go slightly out of your way to check 6, 8, 10 chests at a time. I do disagree with going so far out of the way, especially in the Earth Cave, which has a notoriously awful encounter table, to check 1 or 2 chests along the way.
It
Brott
does.
is about to hit into go mode right here with the second chest that he'll be checking. Let's see how he handles the lower levels of the Earth Cave. If he does indeed try to do the full clear like Artea, or if he just starts to go and uses, as you guys mentioned and pointed out, the concentration of chests between the Sea Shrine and the Mirage Tower as his kind of hope.
Brottster does the double MLG airship drop and then finds the slab. But to put on that, Azrael, I actually think Earth Cave is a little easier in this seed because of the attack status application. So you could get stunless wraiths, you could get stunless geists and ghouls, and there's no like ultra super dangerous crap like in vanilla where you go through this dungeon and you're holding your hands together and praying that you don't encounter all wizards. The cockatrice are a lot safer in this dungeon too, since they may or may not have stone touch. So overall, I'd say Earth Cave is probably the easiest of the 4 dungeons you're going to encounter.
So you definitely won't be clearing it then, Joey, right?
I am. If this was me, I am finding the slab, I'm exiting, and then I'm manipulating the RNG to make going to the first 3 floors super easy.
And as we see Artea picking up his first ribbon of the run, something that I noticed in that room that we haven't touched on too much, Joey, and I know you are a large advocate of this strategy, is the runner's use of what we call free tile. So for the chat, free tile, as we see Artea get the tail next to the ribbon, huge pickup for him.
So that's a very generous chest room right there.
Yeah, so free squares in this game include the tiles that the doors are occupying and the very first horizontal row inside the room. And the reason we call these free spaces is that they do not increment the threat level for rolling a random encounter. So the more you can walk on them completely freely, you will never see an encounter. And we saw Artea at the beginning of that room make very good use of them as he ran to the left chest along the bottom, avoiding the spike tile that's to the right of the chest, and then also not getting any encounters while he was running along there because they were safe. How do you feel that these 2 runners have utilized free spaces so far in this run, Joey?
They've done pretty good. The biggest advantage of the especially in this version where there's no the RNG shuffle is off. So you're pushing encounters. You could have a bad encounter on this floor, and if you've taken enough safe steps, you could push it to the next floor where it might be wizards on floor 3, but on floor it's like one troll. And it's the biggest, I think, it's the hardest thing to learn. Artea also did a really nice job of dodging the 2 trap tiles in that chest room where the ribbon and the tail were, but utilizing those safe steps and going down and up and around those 2 chests that are on the left side of that room, where you can grab from the back side and you skip, I think it's a Wiz Groger, Cerebrus, and a double Sphinx.
Alright, and as we see Artea getting ready to head into the Lich fight as he loses a red mage, and Brottster encountering the world record wolves, please, chat, do me a favor, give the runners some love. Also, follow the channel. We're on Speed Gaming 1 right now. There's also Speed Gaming 2. You'll be seeing our races throughout on these channels and more throughout the entirety of the tournament. Give Feasel some love. Give Speed Gaming some love. Fantastic job everybody has been doing with the production, getting everything together for this tournament. Please, give them the love that they deserve.
I missed it. Yes, Brottster did pick up the tail.
Yep.
Yes, and the ribbon.
Artea has probably opened up about a 4-minute lead now.
He leaves the town after he gets after he turns in the slab at about 50 minutes and 20 seconds. So let's see where Brottster hits after that. And he is going to do class change, it looks like, and checking all the spots. Now, still with the ice swords, do you think Artea will dig a little bit deeper to find the sun, the defense, the Excalibur, the Massive Moon? What would you guys be doing?
If I'm Artea, I definitely am. He has no nuke, he has no fade, and even if he did, they're so late in the list, the levels, that he's not going to have a ton of charges for those spells. So if I'm Artea, I'm definitely looking for at least the Sun Sword.
Well, Joey, we did see nuke, and it is in a slot where the red mages will not be learning it, even with class change.
This is why you don't pick red mage.
Yeah, it fell in the 3rd slot of the shop. I'm going to go ahead and explain that for chat in case anybody is not familiar with the mechanics of the magic shops. So while the spells in the game are randomized with what level they land on, the ability to learn them maintains what it was in the vanilla game. For example, at level 1, a red mage can learn all 4 slots worth of black magic, but can only learn the white magic spells that are in the 1st and 3rd slot, which I believe is usually Cure and Shield, or whatever the equivalent of it is. I know you can't learn Fade or Harm and the other one. And so in the randomizer, the red mage would still... That exactly is how it goes. The white magic, whatever falls in the 1st and 3rd spot, is going to be what the red mage can learn. And then for the black magic, it's any spot. And that's why we see that the nuke is unlearnable, because red mages, after promotion, can only learn the spell that is in the 1st slot of black magic level 6. They cannot learn what is in the other 3 spots, and unfortunately we saw nuke land in that 3rd slot of the shop.
Oh, and Brottster gets awful bad RNG.
Oh, are we seeing... Yes! Somebody, please! Call up some NFL agents. Get that bat an agent! He needs to be drafted! That is some quality linebacking, blocking Brottster from getting the Lich.
Yeah, at these levels, no real threat from the Lich fight. His only strong magic is Ice 2, and if you have over 180 HP, you're good.
And we see Artea skipping the magic shops in Gaia, not interested at what possibly his white mage would be able to learn now that class change has... Oh no, we did see him visit, it looks like, the level 7 shop and skipping the level 8 shop.
What more can you look for in the level 8 slot? He's got 8 Invis, 2 Life, 2 Cure, 4 Fade.
Very fair.
It's looking like we're going to have Artea with about a 10-minute lead on him, on Brottster.
I don't know, because we forgot. Brottster's already done all the Cardi Island stuff, so he actually may not be as far behind as we think. He's going to do class change. He's already translated the slab, and he's probably going to go right to Lufenia.
And, okay, so Brottster has only... Oh no, Brottster does have the Oxy Ale. So Brottster's already been the Gaia to get the Oxy Ale, which is what we just saw Artea do.
So now where does Brottster go?
I mean, at this point, Brottster being on the double fighter comp, he only is looking for maybe a second ribbon and better weapons. Defensively, Brottster is very well stacked to finish this game. And Spling Mnut not Spling Mnut, right above. The Great Cernico, is class change required to finish the game? Absolutely not. You see the players class change because it allows use of better offensive and defensive equipment, and it will also open up more spell slots for the wizards to have, or the mages to have access to.
And that actually brings up a good point. Why don't we hit the chat for those who might be new, came in a little bit late, and right about the hour mark since we've hit it. Let's cover what the randomizer does. I'll do a couple quick hits with, spells have been randomized. You can have a level 8 spell and a level 1 magic shop. That's completely fine. Oh, as well as everything that would be found similarly with weapons, armor, and items. Now, why don't one of you two kind of hit with what else has changed?
So in this seed, the mobs can have 83% scaling all the way up to 120%. The RNG is not shuffled, so it's like vanilla. Like you said, the spells are shuffled. The enemy scripts and the enemy spell cycles are not shuffled, so Lich isn't going to have Nuke, Tiamat's not going to have Lit 2 and all that craziness. The only thing that is shuffled for the enemies is the status application of their basic attacks.
I don't think either one of them have gotten the cube just yet.
Fiesel with a great point. I do not believe Artea went to the waterfall to get the cube. And our tracker, I believe Brottster turned in the slab to get the chime. I did just see the airship from the Lefane section.
And
Artea, yep, he realized it. Alright, very important catch. Do not want to walk up 3 floors and take the spike tile blue dragon encounter, only to find out that you cannot teleport up to the sky castle.
Yes, Brottster does not have the slab yet, but he opted to go get the cube first.
Oh, because I saw Brottster land in Lefane.
Okay, maybe he did. I'm pretty sure he didn't. That he just had a Joey moment. Oh crap! I forgot the cube. Damn.
Yeah, Fiesel, you might be right. I saw him land in Lefane, and then I saw him get back in the airship, walking on a route that would look like he was coming back from Lefane. I did not see exactly, though, if he actually made it all the way down, or if he opted to peel out and go somewhere else first.
Yeah, I'm almost 100% sure Brott does not have chime yet.
He did translate. That I am certain, Fiesel.
And let's see
But
if
this
Brott
could
goes
be
into the
interesting,
grind.
as it could give Brott a very slight lead now, thanks to that ever so small error from Artea. Sonico asking that chest items are random, but NPC items are not random, then you are correct. You will always take the slab to Dr. Un in Melman to get it translated, and then you will go to Lefane in order to get the chime. And then the robot in the waterfall will have the cube. Those do not actually change, just the other key items required are in chests.
Depending on Artea's routing here, we could see Brottster open a pretty sizable lead as he is not looking at anything. He skips the mermaid part of Sea Shrine and is just diving in.
Again, his fighters have the best armor you're going to be able to get for them. He's really only looking for maybe a second ribbon so that he can put ribbons on both mages. He has the Aegis shield for one of the fighters, which is kind of a pseudo ribbon in that it will block Tiamat's Bane, and that's mostly what you care about on the way down, as it's an instant death attack that can wipe your attackers out should you not have protection against it.
Mages, that would just be a pure nasty seed if the NPC items are shuffled, because it would make for a lot more exploring. I wouldn't be opposed to that, to watching the champion do that in the run.
I would love to see that. Like, you go talk to Dr. Un, and he's speaking to you in Lefenish, and it's like, I don't know this language.
You can't be mad at Baxter at that point. You know, he ate an entire wheel of cheese. And let's see if Artea will show us out of bounds bad. Can we get some out of bounds bad hype for those in the chat?
No, we are not. I did not see out of bounds bat from either runner. We did see some Tyro violence on Artea's side earlier, though. So somebody needs to call up Edgeworth. That Tyro did nothing wrong.
Acceptable. You find Dr. Un in Marsh Cave. Behind the wizard tile. He's been substituted for the chest.
There we go, Greenleaf. Thank you very much.
Alright, so we do see Brottster checking a few chests along the way that are not terribly far out of the way. This floor has something like 10 or 12 chests on it, and you can route it in one clean loop that will end at the direction you need to take to head to Kraken anyway. So very good routing on Brottster's side to look for that little bit of extra equipment that he would really like to have going into the end game.
And it looks like Brottster's hitting that unrunnable encounter, but making easy work of it.
And this is why I said you could probably peel off of the grind a little early, which we did see both runners do. You're going to have to take unrunnables, especially in the Sea Shrine, as you have these Ghosts are unrunnables, the Sahagin mix is unrunnable, and along with water elementals. And at this stage of the game, they're going to give you pretty relevant amounts of EXP, and since you have to fight them, it allows you to kind of skip the grind a little bit more.
So he's going to take the double trap tile here, probably. Gets the Pro Cape for his White Mage. 8 extra absorb. Very nice little pickup.
Puts it on his red mage, though.
That's good.
Could be valuing the red mage slightly higher. And we see a Vorpal sword for one of the fighters. Very nice pickup. Not as good as it will be in weapon stats fixed, where it would have its monstrous crit rate, but maybe a little bit better than the ice sword, maybe not. It really comes down to a lot of personal opinion for that exact argument, but he opts to take it and throw it on his lead fighter.
So the Vorpal sword does 24 attack, comparatively to the ice sword's 29, but the crit rate is substantially higher, 13% higher.
Additionally, I believe the hit percent on the Vorpal is
Way higher, 25%
yeah,
higher.
way higher. So it's very possible that the Vorpal Sword will put the fighter over an extra attack breakpoint where it would definitely outshine the Ice Sword, given that he is not stopping the grind levels very much anymore.
So what we'll say is the crit, it's not broken, it's just lacking attention in this. It's one of those features that have happened just when they were putting out the game. They tried to make this game a little bit fast because the name Final Fantasy, this was their final shot of Square to, improve and to, turn a profit. So they kind of rushed certain things out. Great game, one of my favorite games ever played. But it just, certain things are features.
And real quick, on Artea's screen, we saw Artea take the Spike Tile encounter, go up to check the chest, see that it was the Vorpal Sword, hit the Spike Tile before going to the right to actually pick up the Vorpal. So he has to take an additional Spike Tile encounter. Slight bit of inefficiency here. And as we are in the Kraken fight for Brottster, Kraken notorious for smacking a character out of existence sometimes with his 8 physical attacks that he has access to. And we have Artea on the way down to Kraken. Please give the runners some... Follow the runners. Follow Speed Gaming. Give Fiesel some love. He deserves it. The man is a monster, doing so much work to put out all of this great content for you guys.
Poor Mize, victim of the 8 tentacles to the face.
Yeah, Kraken notorious for picking one of your mages and smacking them promptly out of existence.
R.I.P. and P.
Not much you can do to mitigate it. You really just have to throw Invis 2 up once or twice and hope that maybe Kraken only lands 6 tentacles into the face of your mage rather than the full 8, because the 8 is almost always going to be lethal for the mages at this stage of the game. They just don't have the hit points or the defensive equipment to survive it.
We got Artea coming into Kraken. As we're going through this fight, again, I want to give a huge shout out to the Final Fantasy 1 randomizer community. We're growing. We do have a very active Discord, and it's kind of all hours because we have not only East, West, all around the globe members. Everyone from learning new strats to very seasoned in advance. And we have Brottster going through at 1 minute and 12 seconds. 1 hour and 12 seconds to getting defeating Kraken and getting that third orb lit up. So definitely join us. We're always also very warm and welcome. We always want to help out and grow this community because, this is the first Final Fantasy 1 randomizer tournament, if I'm correct, and we want to have plenty more of these.
And we see Nuke, the red mage, on Artea's side, taking a Kraken slapping to the face. We are looking to see when Artea gets out of this fight, because with the equipment that both found in the Sea Shrine, we very well may not see very much treasure chest checking for the remainder of the game now that they have the Vorpal Sword. And we're looking to see, we might have an actual real grasp on exactly how far ahead Brottster is after this fight, as Kraken seem to have rolled like a beast this seed with the high HP, fairly high absorb. Kraken is not taking prisoners today.
Is this foreshadowing how disgusting Kraken 2 will be? Find out
Possibly.
next time on Dragon Ball Z.
We do see, though, that Artea got multiple Invis 2s up, so chances are we're not going to see Artea lose another character, and we have Kraken down. So I saw about 1:14:06-ish, so we have about a 1 minute and 40-second lead for Brottster. However, Artea had the chime already from visiting Lefane, whereas Brottster does not, so this will negate a slight bit of that lead right out of the gate already. And we have Brottster taking the high road. Oh, and Artea. Not very often that you see Artea turn down a tasty, tasty Tyro steak. But Brottster indeed turning it down. As we saw, the Frost Wolves, which are one of the worst encounters to get, they are not unrunnable, but they will spam Frost and they can be quite the annoyance.
Artea living the dream, getting into the second floor of the Mirage Tower. Nothing, a lot of nice, juicy experience encounters here. If you can get a group of guards, a group of vampires, those are great pickups for experience. But you can see the runners just running. They want to get to TOFR and crush chaos.
We may be seeing... I know Artea likes to favor killing what we call popcorn encounters, which are 8-9 enemy encounters that are really, really worthwhile if you can AoE them down. Though we do see the lack of nukes, so Artea may skip encounters such as 8 bad men while we're up in the Sky Tower today.
My heart breaks. Nobody took advantage of the free square. So if you guys don't know, the shadow of the tower is actually a free square.
And we see Alit, which is the protection versus lightning spell for the Blue Dragon fight. Not a spell that you see get loved too often in Randomizer.
So as we progress towards the tower and the floating castle, we're going to be encountering potentially one of the most interesting battles. We'll wait till we get there to the Bridge of Destiny to talk about it.
Yes, Almacia. Artea actually cast Alit in the Spike Tile encounter versus Blue Dragons. And interesting that Artea is taking this fight. I'm wondering if he does not actually know that air elementals, out of the 4 primal elementals that you run into in these dungeons, are actually runnable.
The real question is, does A Lightning actually work against Thunder?
I am not sure. You would know that more than me.
Splitting just posed a question to us. Would we go to get white magic spells for our knights before the Temple of Fiends were visited? In a perfect world, I'll be honest, if I remember, I do. 9 times out of 10, I forget.
I would, because we have heal 3 at level 1 and life 2 at level 2. And having, especially somebody like Brottster, if you have life on 3 or 4 characters, that could be huge going into TOFR. You will not care if you take a random death anywhere because you just have so many life 2 charges that it's not going to matter.
Yeah, I agree. If the selection is correct, if the selection is good, then yeah, you're definitely picking up. Especially these spells heal 3, life 2. That's so much time saved on having to buy heal potions.
Agreed. And we see Artea checking a few chests that aren't terribly far out of the way.
To jump in, we got Brottster on the Bridge of Destiny. So on the Bridge of Destiny, the reason I call it is because you can fight this, the enemy called Warmech. I believe it's it's about a 4% chance to fight him. He is typically described as the hardest enemy in the game, next to Chaos. He is the true final boss of the floating castle.
He's the true boss of the entire game because Warmech makes Chaos look like a joke. So Greenleaf throwing out some stats. It's about 4% that you encounter Warmech. It's definitely higher than 3 out of 256. I believe it's 12 out of 256. Or something along those lines. And yes, as Splitting Mnut says, Warmech is indeed runnable. Though it looks like we are not going to have any Warmech sightings today, just plenty of nachos.
That's only because I'm not running.
Look at this match. It is heating up. At a minute 19, at an hour and 19, we have both Artea and Brottster fighting Tiamat. Get your popcorn ready. This is going to be a final, nice, fun rush.
So we see Brottster going with some buff-up strats, getting fast on only one of the fighters. I guess the fighter that has the Vorpal Sword only, as he spams Heal 3 and Invis 2 with the mages to buff up. It did look like Tiamat rolled some decent absorbs, so we're going to be wanting to crit more than anything here, but yeah, it's looking like Tiamat is quite the defensive ask to break through here.
And we clearly see both runners ignoring the OP Bane strats, as both have the Bane sword, and neither are using it.
Bane, for those who do not know, has... I'm not sure what exactly the chance is for regular Tiamat, but it's typically a 0.5% chance Hail Mary to instantly kill the boss here.
It's 1 in 16, I think, and Tiamat 1. You have a good chance of it happening.
And we see Tiamat down on Brottster's side.
So with that, you see what the benefit of having two damage dealers with two warriors right there are going to do.
Yes, however, we would see exactly the opposite if Fade or Nuke landed at a good spell slot for Artea, who would have been able to blow Tiamat up with magic in maybe 2 turns. Did Bane actually land?
Bane actually landed, folks.
Nice. So we see about a 30-second lead for Artea here, or for Brottster here over Artea.
Looks like, chat, your question has been answered. You do have Brottster going to get early life 2 for his warrior.
Will we see the Cornelia?
He should go to Cornelia if he's going to...
Oh, we're actually seeing going to Elfland. And we see Artea also going to get life 2 for the knight.
And picking up life as well is Invis.
And we see Artea also going to Elfland. So both runners actually opting to hit all of the magic shops to soup up their knights with white magic.
Mutton are splitting. To answer your question, I don't believe Break works on Tiamat. Tiamat has a weakness to poison, and Break is a death element spell.
We see heal 3 on 2 knights, so the amount of heal spells that Brottster has access to during this dive is going to reward him very handsomely with menu saving time when you have to recover your light warriors on the way down.
Alright, now let's play how many unrunnables do we get. So chat, I want you to tell us how many unrunnables are these runners going to get in TOFR.
As we see the first one already for Brottster against the Worm.
And for those who know, don't TOFR, Temple of Fiends Revisited, that's where we're going. We're hitting the past.
With the ability to unage 200,000 years back in time, we still look handsome and dapper in our red gear and red hair. Brottster resets out of... What did he get?
5 or 6 Frost Wolves and 2 Frost Giants.
I'm curious to know why he tried to take that encounter there.
I think he was trying to do the RNG manipulation, just did not start it at the beginning, try to hit it, partially through. And we do see Artea going to getting down the Phantom, and there have been many of speedruns that have been ruined by not picking up the loot. That little musical instrument allows you to move this large ceramic block.
Magius1 in chat asking if the fiends get revived if you exit from TOFR. Yes, they do. You have to get every boss fight in one go, because as Jiggly Saint points out, they are indeed trap tiles that are in your way.
And we have Brottster with an unrunnable right here with Gas Dragons that are just going to be a nasty encounter.
I was just going to say, have either not gotten an unrunnable yet?
No, this I believe is Artea's first unrunnable. This is Brottster's fourth. And wow,
God.
that knight surviving with 1 HP left after the poison.
Does he not have Aegis Shield on his lead fighter?
He may have opted to put it on the second fighter.
Artea has a sizable lead.
I think that's mostly thanks in part to that reset that we saw Brottster do, rather than just AoEing down the Frostwolf Frost Giant encounter.
Artea is on the Earth level, revisited. And we still got Brottster with Artie, one of his fighters, with 1 health. Refilling it now, which is nice.
He just took the gamble to not really worry about, healing up the fighter before the Phantom fight, since Phantom has a pretty low chance of actually attacking you. And even if he did lose the fighter there, he may have been taking the route of trying to save a Cure 4 charge, and rather spending one of his many life 2 charges to just revive at full health, so that he can save the Cure 4s for inside of a battle against a boss.
And definitely, Joey, do you mind, as we're seeing Brottster hit another unrunnable encounter, and Artea coming up to Lich, can you tell us a little bit more about unrunnables, and, describe this Lich fight a little bit, if you don't mind?
So the unrunnables in TOFR, I believe, are this encounter here, the Frost Giant, Frost Wolf, Gas Dragons, the Water Elementals, the Earth Elementals, the Fire Elementals, and the Purple Worms.
And sorry to jump in, but we just have Artea being able to knock down Lich without having to encounter Nuke, which his mages stood a chance of not surviving that. So, sorry, go back at it with the unrunnables.
So yeah, I think there's 2 or 3 at least 1 on every floor. Some of them have 2, and as Brottster's learning, there's apparently every fight is an unrunnable. But with this seed, you can do RNG manipulation, and you skip like half of this. But Brottster is getting extremely unlucky. He has hit every unrunnable under the sun so far.
Yeah, we are at 7 unrunnables for Brottster. The thankful part is that a large portion of them have only been 1 or 2 enemies, whereas Artea is getting like 3 and 4 stacks of Earth and Fire elementals at this stage of the game.
And I don't think he has ice too, so he's got to melee these down.
And to answer chat's question, yes, you can. Massimoom is the best weapon in the game. You typically do not want to put it on your black belt, because once it reaches level 20, once it reaches, I think, past level 7, it's better without weapons. It hits harder, as I forget how to talk, as well as it increases its defense by not having weapons increased or equipped in.
Yeah, so the black belts, while they're unarmed, they get double the normal number of attacks they would normally have, and their attack power is equal to 2x their level. So past about level 8 or so, they do tend to outshine. The Massimoom is maybe like the weird exception because of how ridiculously strong it is, but it's still, roughly speaking, a level 32 black belt can punch as hard as a level 20-something fighter with the Masamune. And we see Artea in the carry 2 fight.
Dropping down those Invis 2 charges.
Pretty safe strategy against both Carry and Kraken, as they both like to punch a character out of the game.
And Brottster just downs Lich, so he's just the fire level behind at this point. Let's see if the unrunnable encounters are a little bit nicer to Brottster at this point.
That's a good start.
Sho saying that his seed will take 3 hours, claiming that it will be an Ice Blue / Ravenheart seed, as Ice and I are known for dreaming up crazy seeds that would be awful. And as Maya says in chat, the race is tightening. This is indeed true, as we see a second fighter go down for Artea as Brottster enters the carry fight. So we're going to have to see some desperation strats out of Artea to finish this battle off. And the fade is
out
enough.
of it with the other two, yes. So with the water level coming up, can we get some information? I know we've covered it a bit with safe non-encounter.
All right, so that room that we just saw Artea run through very briefly, he went up, hugged the wall, and ran out the other door. That first row, as he entered the doors, including the doors themselves, are what are called safe tiles, and they do not increment your threat counter. So as you see him attempt to hug the wall, he did not do so here. That is actually the wrong wall, because that is not where the door is. You wanted to hug the other wall. You will be less likely to get an encounter if you hug those walls, as they are completely free to walk on.
Yeah, he would have hit that lobster troll battle 2 steps outside of the door instead of taking it in there, which in turn now he missed 2 or 3 extra safe squares in that third room, which now this fight is way earlier than it should be.
Yeah, there's a possibility that this fight could have maybe even just got bumped to the next floor, where the next floor is very, very light on unrunnable encounters compared to this floor.
And Brottster was carried down, and he's encountering some waters again. Unrunnable. They're using Lit against them. Fun fact, they're actually weak to water, to ice.
Yes, you would think the water elementals are weak to lightning, as per, I think, just about every other Final Fantasy game past here, but no, these are actually weak to ice. The big difference that we're seeing here, since Artea is lacking Nuke and Fade on his red mages, the fact that Artea got a 6-pack and Brottster only got a 3 is very much going to help Brottster make up a little bit of time here.
And you see Artea wasting that very, very much needed Fade spell. This is going to be really tight, because Artea is starting to run out of spell charges, and Brottster has his 2 warriors up there ready to just bop everybody.
And Brottster doing a fantastic job of using those free tiles. That might be one less unrunnable encounter. We actually see Brottster was travel space ahead. Because of that encounter, he'll get into the Kraken fight second, but Artea very well might get an encounter after Kraken, whereas Brottster might have a free walk down to Tiamat's floor.
It's way too close to call at this point with both of the runners. They're fighting Kraken at the same time. Buckle up. This is going to be a lot of fun.
And guys, fantastic down-to-the-wire race that we have right here. A bad death on a boss could actually decide the entire race. Please go give the runners some love, as they have put out one heck of a opening race to kick off this tournament. And while you're at it, go give Feasel and Speed Gaming some love too, for hosting us today on the opening race of our inaugural Final Fantasy Randomizer tournament.
I cannot wait to get both these guys in the chat afterwards so we can talk to them and find out what was going through their mind as they were hitting Temple of Fiends.
Probably much like what I was thinking about as I entered Temple of Fiends in the showcase race. This is either going to be really good or What do you
Yeah, Brottster was
We see
cracking down.
Brottster getting down first, and I believe what might end up being the deciding factor here is that Brottster has 2 characters that are attacking, and is
And
not
Artea
nearly
was attacking,
as requiring them spell charges that Artea is, and Artea's spell charges are starting to run a little bit thin.
But here comes one of the great equalizers, Tiamat 2. Either can be your best friend or not going to be too nice. Looks like he just rolled some high defense.
Yep,
'Cause
looks like
the
we have
weapon
high
on Brott.
absorb. Yep, definitely. Ice Sword, 4 hits for 14 damage. We are going to be looking for crits during this fight, because crits ignore some portion of the absorb stat, and it is most definitely that this Tiamat has high absorb, but not evasion.
And Brottster losing his white mage.
That's fine. Outside of Bane, as we see Thunder only going through for 40 to 65 damage,
Artea getting
across
hit
the
with
party.
Bane and losing his 2 red mages.
which
The
is
Red Wizards.
much more critical. Artea might not be able to actually finish this fight now. I think if you're Artea, if you have any charges of Fade left, they need to be being thrown with reckless abandon at Tiamat right now. You're going to have some kind of fighter-based strat for Chaos when you get down there, because your spell charges are just so taxed already.
Ooh. Poison 288 to the first fighter.
And
But
Brottster downs him.
Yes, so we have Brottster with a healthy advantage going into the Chaos fight. As I've mentioned before, we have 2 physical attackers on Brottster's side, as opposed to 1 and maybe a half on Artea's side. And Artea might not be able to finish this.
Yep. Brottster also didn't get the Purple Worm and Unrunnable. So he's going to jump into Chaos with about a minute lead, minute and a half or so.
Taking a brief moment to double check his equipment, make sure he is as equipped as he can be going into this fight. And we see, yep, we're going to see fast stacking up on the fighters. And yep, the white to buff up the defenses.
we see Tiamat going deep into his spell list at this point.
What's going to be critical here is, do we see Brottster get through Chaos before Chaos casts Cure 4 and gets all of his health back? Chaos Vanilla HP is 2,000. So we're looking at Chaos with somewhere between 1,650 to 2,400 HP.
And he's done about 900 now or so. And I don't believe Chaos has cast a spell yet, which, if that's the case, Brottster is in a fantastic position.
Artea
And we
down
do
in Tiamat.
see Artea get Tiamat down, but there's a sizable lead opened up for Brottster now. B-Dizzle in chat, is this the final boss? Yes. Chaos is the final boss. We will see the runners done as soon as they see the word terminated come up during the Chaos fight.
Alright, he's at his second spell. The only thing detrimental to Brottster right now is if his Vorpal Holder gets slowed. Because he has no more fast charges to rebuff that for one fighter. So there's still a chance Artea could sneak in the win, but...
Now, what does slow do, if you don't mind covering that for chat, Joey?
So slow and slow 2 reduce your accuracy. So if you fast, it takes off your fast and then reduces you further. So basically you're going from 4 hits to 1 hit, regardless of if you're faster or not.
And there you have it.
Brottster with the win GG.
Good run to Brottster, getting Chaos down.
Sitting there thinking, pondering for a moment of what he is going to do with using that Life 2 spell. Life 2, unlike future Final Fantasy games, you cannot use it in fight.
Yes, the life spells are not effective in fights, so if you lose a character in a fight, you do not have that character for the entirety of that fight, regardless of whether you have life or not.
And definitely a good game to Brottster. We're hoping to get him here in the chat momentarily once he, steps up, stretches his legs, cracks his back, and celebrates his victory.
Artea is... oof. Ooh. Chaos is getting into the dirty part of his skill set. Tornado and Swirl are just disgusting, unmitigatable elements.
Four hits, 4 damage, 5 for 120. This Chaos did roll some high evade and the Red Warrior down. Crack and instant death spell does go ineffective on Artea side.
But he did lose his warrior. He is...
And it looks like we have Artea forfeiting from the race after this unfortunate Chaos encounter.
Young Swirl.
Now that we are done here, we will be looking to get the racers into the commentary channel if they are willing to once they step in.
So overall, everyone, for a first match, how do you think that went? I think it was a great showcase, personally. We saw a lot of back and forth, lead changes, everything along the lines.
How often do you race and the entirety of the race is within 1 to 2 minutes of each other? Like, this race down to the wire was absolutely crazy intense.
Yeah, we had both runners at Tiamat 2, both runners at Chaos. It just the lack of, I think it was just the lack of defensive equipment and the lack of ribbons for Artea. Those mages can't take repeated beatings from area of effects spells, and I think that's just what slowly started to lose it in the end, especially with the lack of nuke. You just didn't have the resources to push through that last part of the game.
This is the I mean, basically this race was won by party selection is what it boiled down to.
I think I have to agree with that. Not having nuke was a really big problem for Artea, and having 2 physical attackers allowed Brottster to, no matter what, have the safe damage to eventually get there in the end game against Tiamat and Chaos.
Thalphon, it's dependent on the tail. I usually turn in the adamant 100% of the time, just because you can sell it for absurd amounts of money sometimes, but it depends. It's personal preference, really.
Yeah, I would say on average, you usually end up finding adamant. It also depends on how early you hit go mode. If you're in a really, really early go mode and you happen to have found a ribbon or 2 early as well, you might not be checking chests, so your chance of actually finding the adamant to get Excalibur is significantly lower. But in a seed like we saw today, where a fair amount got checked, it's a little surprising that we didn't see Excalibur.
So what do you think going into the next race these two are thinking about?
And we have Brott joining us in the commentary room. Welcome and congratulations on your victory.
Hey guys, thanks. That was a very interesting seed.
So tell us a little bit about, we saw the main difference here, we'll say, was the party selection. Tell us a little bit about why you chose the 2 fighters, Red and White Mage.
Well, that's what I've been testing the last few days. I'm pretty new to the race community here. I think I've done maybe a dozen races now, so I didn't want to deviate from what I'm used to. Noticing quite early that magic was not going to be a strong suit, I felt that I might be at an advantage because knowing Artea loves mages, but I still felt like I was behind most of that race. I'm not sure. I can't wait to see the restream. It looks like we were very close.
Yeah, bro. Actually,
yeah.
the entirety of the race, I think you 2 were maybe no more than 3 minutes apart, and the lead changed several times during that race. And we have Artea here. Welcome. Sorry about the loss. Not having enough resources, it looked like, on your mages to close that Tower of Fiends we visited out.
I just needed a weapon, really, but the game wasn't giving me anything, so...
Yeah, Vorpal was the best option, sadly.
See, with because I'm such a new person in this community, I know Vorpal is good in later round seeds, but I wasn't sure if it's better than the Ice Sword in this one. I just knew my Red Mage had fast, so I figured that might be my best shot to catch up.
It's hold on, I'll pull up the thing. The Vorpal it's a little less raw damage, but it has a higher accuracy rating and a higher crit. So we were actually discussing that on stream, saying that putting the Vorpal on your second fighter was definitely the better option than keeping them both with the Ice Sword.
Yeah, and it definitely paid dividends in those later fights when my Ice Sword was doing 4 hits, 4 damage, and the Vorpal was doing much more than that. Obviously, I was buffing it after, but just the raw crit chance, right?
Yes.
So what was going through each of your rinds brought in Artea when, by the way, this is Joker here, when you hit go mode early, as you're hitting 1 hour 20, 1 hour 30, what were you thinking? Were you just waiting for the dot dones?
So for me, when I went to Earth and got the slab, the first thing I thought of was like, Artea is probably already here, and I'm behind. And then the second thought was, I have no weapon to do anything with. So I figured I'd kind of half go in go mode, where I would be checking chests that are close or in clusters, and I wasn't even going to check that chest that had Vorpal in it because of the trap tile, but I just decided to. I will have to make a note, though, that Artea must have casted Confuse on all my NPCs because I got body blocked constantly that seed.
The bat in front of the Lich door, we were like, no!
Well, when in Cornelia, the lady at the very beginning blocked me out the door, figured that was surefire way to, for things to come. And then the bat in Earth was just as bad, if not worse.
So there was one point you were going through 2FR, right at the start, your first trip in, you took an encounter, you went to the second floor, and then you instead of going down to the third floor, you stopped and you took an encounter on that floor. Why did you do that? We were wondering.
So my lack of knowledge of the game, mostly. I remember hosting. I don't know if I hosted you in a race, Joey, or if I just was watching you, and I saw you do it, and it worked out for you. So I was like, I'll try it. Why not? I'm behind anyways. It didn't work out.
you go watch the whole video. You had the right idea. It's part of the first seed. You can manipulate the RNG, but you have to hard reset and then skip encounters before you go in.
Yeah. I noticed when I wasn't getting the counter very fast, I knew I screwed up. But like I said, I just played as if I was behind the whole game. That was my mentality. And then I had to take risks.
Artea, at what point were you like, I'm winning, I think I'm winning, or I'm really behind, but at one point in TOFR, did you feel like you were running out of gas?
It was actually quite a bit earlier than Temple of Fiends. I picked up the slab in the Earth Cave, and I was like, okay, I could technically be in go mode, but I have no freaking damage right now. So I was just shopping for a weapon, and I'm like, well, if I can find something early, I might have a shot.
Yeah, I had the same issue trying to find that weapon. My armor was almost on point. I had every good piece of armor that didn't have an effect when you used it in battle that I could find. Like, I didn't get the power gauntlet, white shirt, black shirt, didn't get any of those, but I had all the high-powered stuff. So I figured I might have an advantage late game if I could keep it close, but I was still worried about A, not finding a quality weapon, and B, I still had in my mind that Nuke was super late. I'm not sure on the tables for if I could buy it or not with the Red Mage. I don't think so, but I can't, I don't know them. I have to look that up. But I didn't even know where Fade was, so I knew I had an advantage. The other thing too was I only had Lit 3 for my Red Mage. I know Fire 3 was a level 4 spell, and I couldn't buy it when I saw it, and then I forgot about it. So I only had the one AoE with my Red Mage.
So there was a question from chat. It was, why no temper? I believe we got a quick answer from it, but just if you guys don't mind covering for chat, because it was thrown out there. Why no temper spells?
I had temper. It was late. It was I think a level 5 spell, and I forgot where it was for a bit, and then I remember when I got the slab where it was, but I didn't use the tail yet, so I couldn't buy it yet. That's why you might have remembered me going into the black spell shop before turning in the slab, just because I needed a reminder it was there. But
sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Brott. My apologies.
Oh, that's all right.
So what are you guys thinking going into race 2?
Joey, I'm hoping that you and Ice have an excellent round, and I look forward to playing with either one of you. I definitely have to practice round 2 seeds. I think I've only played one, but I'm looking forward to it.
Brat, what Joey was actually hinting at, the races are best of 3, so we will be seeing Artea v Brat round 2 with you up 1 game. So,
Okay.
Question for both of you then is, what might you look to change going into round 2? Or rather, game 2 of your match?
Reading the rules, because I thought it was just a best of 1.
Don't worry, Brat. That seems to be a pretty large amount of confusion right now, actually, including myself. But yeah, apparently, so all the rounds are best of 3, so we will be seeing the Mage Master versus the Mage Masher, the run back edition for the second race.
All right. Well, that's actually, I think that's a lot better, to be honest. I was under the impression it was a 1 game. In my head, I thought best of 3 would be better, but now that it is, that's excellent. I look forward to our next round, and hopefully it's as close as this one.
This race was, you guys will watch the restream and be shocked at just how close the race was the whole way through.
That's even including in TOFR, Brat, you had 8 or 9 in unrunnable encounters on that dive, whereas Artea only got 4. And you still managed to actually make up the very minuscule amount of time that you were behind and actually pull ahead going into the Tiamat and Chaos.
Yeah, I believe the RNG for me this seed with the NPCs and the unrunnables was quite interesting, but I feel the 2 fighters, I probably would have been better with a black belt, but I think having 2 fighters really helped me there.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be sacrificing a goat to RNGs to get either a weapon or some kind of damage spell for next match.
Yeah, Artea, as the master of mages and the leader of the Hat Brigade, how did you feel when you saw that Nuke was completely locked out at level 6 in a slot that even after class change you were not going to be able to learn on your red mages?
It's just part of the game. If you roll with red mages, you just expect them to never be spectacular. It's just average all around. Like, whether you get spells or not, you can still sort of do something with them.
Yeah, and Brat, we were mentioning your choice of 2 fighters. How were you feeling looking for that tail, knowing that you had the opal armor and the dragon armor already, and you were pretty much only looking for ribbons and weapon upgrades, and then the tail, of course, so that you could actually use the plethora of absolutely fantastic defensive equipment that you had found for the 2 fighters?
Well, before I found the tail, I was extremely worried about, because of my lack of knowledge with this game, I was in my head trying to figure out if I should push and try to go right through, or if I should check more chests. And I felt that because I didn't get a good weapon yet, I decided I'm either going to go until I find the tail, adamant, sun sword, or mass moon.
So awesome job. I just want to jump in and say thank you to the runners. Thank you. Please, everyone, give them a follow. We just linked the runners' Twitches in the chat. We're getting that time to head on down that dusty path. We're definitely looking forward to another Artea vs. Brottster stream coming again. Thanks again, Feasel. Thanks, Maya, for helping us out here as well. Ice Blue, all the admins, Bent Glass, thank you again. Also, big, huge thank you for Artea Brottster being the first 2 to go through this, the Final Fantasy Randomizer tournament. Joey, Azriel, let's have some final thoughts as we go on our way. Again, this is Joker. Thank you all.
Just once again, follow the runners, follow Feasel. Thank you so much to Feasel and Speed Gaming for hosting this for us today. Brought Artea, fantastic race to kick this tournament off, with neck and neck the entire time with constant lead changes. I enjoyed this race, I enjoyed commentating on it, and best of luck for race 2 and hopefully race 3 of this match.
Yeah, well, congratulations to Brott. I'm really looking forward to our next match.
Yeah, same. It was. I'm very looking forward to watching this restream. And the last thing I was going to say is, I've been playing this game maybe 2 weeks now. The community has been awesome. They've been there to answer any questions I had. I didn't know how to use the IRC channel. I didn't know any of that stuff, and people were more than willing to help me figure all that out. I've never done a Twitch stream before 10 days ago, so I just like to give a shout out to the community and thank them for the ease that they let me join and become a member of this fantastic place.
And Joey, final thoughts go to you, sir.
Cyrus AFK. I really hope that this second race brings as much hype as that first one did, because I was literally at the edge of my seat from the time you guys found the floater. It was like so close. It was so intense.
Well, again, everyone, thank you. We're signing off. Please feel free, definitely follow our runners. Follow Speed Gaming 2. That's where a lot of the runs will be. And we look forward to seeing you again in the chat.